Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, European immigrants flocked to the rich coal beds of Appalachia. Among them were many Hungarians who settled in small mining towns south of Pittsburgh. Men and boys worked 10 to 14-hour days in the mines, braving constant darkness, hazardous breathing conditions, and frequent cave-ins. Wives and daughters struggled to make their homes in dirty company towns, living in cramped company houses, paying inflated prices at company stores.
Tell me, at what point can I have a smile that I can't keep? Because it always seems to be there when these birds sing me to sleep. I'm always under-rested when it's time for me to rise, and I can't ever seem to hide it from these dark circles that surround my eyes.
To save for land of their own and a new life, either in America or back in the old country, mining town immigrants toiled for coal companies that did not always respect their rights or their safety.
And I'll sing harmony on the tones of the Beltline drone. I'm an Appalachian bag of bones, born with a blue collar and steel toes. Lord, let me walk out of this coal mine and make my way back home.
December 1907 was the deadliest month in U.S. coal mining history. Before the year was out, 5 separate mine explosions would claim over 700 lives nationwide. A blast ripped through the Yolande mine in Alabama on December 16th, killing 57 miners. The Bernal in Carthage, New Mexico, lost another 11 on the final day of the year. But it was in Appalachia where the worst tragedies occurred. December 1907 began with an explosion at the Naomi mine in Fayette City, Pennsylvania. 34 miners were killed. Many of the survivors sought work at the Darr mine in Van Meter, less than 8 miles away. Then, on December 6th, the worst mining disaster in U.S. history took place in Monongah, West Virginia. 362 miners were confirmed dead in a blast that destroyed 2 connected shafts there. 3 days later, the shadow of what would come to be known as the Dreadful Month fell upon the Darr in Van Meter. At approximately 11:30 a.m. on the morning of December 19th, a lethal concentration of methane gas and coal dust ignited deep within the Darr mine. The explosion that resulted was felt miles away in towns up and down the Yauk Valley. Would-be rescuers such as Ishvan Toth rushed to the scene from the nearby Witsit mine. They returned homeward in despair when they found that there was no one left alive within the Darr. Only one man, Tom Williams, survived because he had been at the mine entrance at the time of the blast. Some sources list plumber Joseph Mapleton as a possible second survivor. Many bodies were never recovered, and many that were could not be identified. In the week that followed, the Darr mine dead were laid to rest in graveyards throughout the region because no one cemetery could accommodate them all. Unidentified remains were committed to a mass grave in Van Meter.
Born and raised in a mining town, most folks thought that up was down. We all lived and gave our soul, did it all smoking coal. Daddy rose at the crack of dawn. When I could, I'd tag along. Captain said, what a fine young man. Put a pick in that boy's hand.
Investigation later determined that the Pittsburgh Coal Company, owner of the Darr mine, was not responsible for the disaster. Officially, the explosion occurred when a miner, wearing an open-flame helmet, entered an area that the company had cordoned off due to high concentrations of methane. But critics argue that methane levels throughout the mine were unsafe, and that no one should have been underground that day. Even as shattered families mourned and struggled to move on, a surprising fact emerged. The tragedy could have been much worse. In the Greek Catholic Orthodox calendar of 1907, December 19th was designated as a holy feast day to honor St. Nicholas. 200 men who on a normal day would have been working in the mine attended Mass instead. The blast struck during the liturgy, but the worshippers were safely out of range at church in Jacob's Creek. The miracle of St. Nicholas, as it became known, spared hundreds of lives and ensured the future of the towns surrounding the Darr. In the years that followed, several of the miners who attended Mass that day stayed to work in other nearby mines. Many of their descendants remained in the area, living in Van Meter and Jacob's Creek to this day. Over 100 years later, coal mining is still one of the most dangerous jobs that human beings perform. But in the wake of the tragedies of 1907, the U.S. Bureau of Mines was established to enforce greater safety regulations within the industry. The Darr mine is abandoned today, overgrown and almost inaccessible, but its legacy remains, felt by a community and a profession generations later, rumbling like a distant aftershock deep underground.